Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Saturday morning papers, the newspapers, the news flow. Tra-la-la, time for a cuppa and the papers. Welcome. Good morning. Happy Bernie, April Hill. I love, not that I've had time to really look at it too much, but I love seeing you all chit-chatting amongst yourselves, sharing thoughts, saying things, using words, exclamation marks, punctuation, saying things to each other. If you're wondering what the hell I'm talking about and you're listening to this on podcast, I'm talking about a lovely live chat room where I can see everyone's names all going ahead. Look, hi, Eva, Kim. I don't even know what you're talking about, Ellery. Hey, I know you're talking to Kim. That's about it. Morning, Faith. Hope you enjoyed the quiz. Ellery Jones, thank you for the family guest membership gift. Brilliant. You're going to be able to join us later today. So this is boring if you're listening on podcast, just house management. It's no curly cooks today, but there is going to be for the members, Faith, for all of you. Later today, around 4 o'clock, there's going to be a No Name Saturday show because we've pivoted a curly cooks to tomorrow. So morning from Mallorca, Anna Charalumbus. Check out our currently running travel Mallorca Corker, the Mallorca Corker. Excessive amounts of just drugs, sex, drugs, rock and roll, and a lot of mincing around a swimming pool. Hi, Sally Hatton. How are you? Always takes me ages to get on due to the adverts. Sorry about that. Who's that? Hilary Daly, Anne Campbell. Hello, all gorgeous subs. Oh, hi. Anyway, as you know, we trot you through the papers, and hopefully it doesn't give you the trots. We go through the headlines, we go through the front pages, we go through the sort of serious stories, because you can't ignore them, as you probably tell from the title of this one. And obviously we get to the silly, which is usually when we get to the Daily Star. So let's have a look at all the front pages today. Obviously, threaded through everything is the palpable sense of excitement and just jitteriness that we've all got around the football. And of course, it's at this point that I get on board fully and I paint sort of, St. George's crosses across my chest. I'm wearing St. George's cross pants. I've had my left testicle tattooed with Ollie Watkins, just in case Ross Kemp loses his shit again. Hey, Liv Bond, of course you can have a shout out. Been a silent sub for 5 years. Not so silent right now, Liv. Sending you love. Who thinks, just quickly, before we get going into the actual front pages, who thinks we're going to win? Come on, guys. And to say you're not going to win isn't, to quote Boris, being engaged in Project Fear. Was it Project Fear or Project Misery or whatever it was? Who thinks we're going to win? I think Liv Bond does. Victoria Moore does. I think we might grind it out. Shout out to the Lionesses for winning last night too. Dawny, good shout out there. Well done you. Yeah, so yes, no, Claire Hayward, no, Project Fear. Mandy Lou, unfortunately, no. If we do, we're going to grind it, aren't we? Like coffee beans. We're going to grind it. Because let's be brutally honest. We shouldn't have got the penalty that meant that we drew, what's it? Drew square? Drew up? What's the word? What's the phrase? Drew alongside? Well, anyway, that was not a penalty, guys. I don't care. We can get into all sorts of kind of chit-chatter. I know, Ninad, you're gutted about Germany's exit, but that was not. But, a little bit of luck goes everyone's way. Let's think of Maradona's hand. The hand of God. So, I don't know. Spain are quite tasty, aren't they? Makes a change for us to get a lucky ref decision, says Steph Schultz, especially when you consider that the ref in question was banned for 6 months many years ago when he was caught up in a bribery case, wasn't he? That Lemane on Spain is extremely dangerous in a talented way. Is that Lemane? Is he one of the players? I don't even know all of our players. I'm there for the gig. I'm there for the Josh and the hijinks and the jugging. I'm there for the jugs of beer, or I used to be. Anyway, I think you all think we're going to win, which doesn't mean anything, does it, really? It's a game of two halves. Sometimes extra time, often penalties. Let's look at the front pages. Daily Express, win or lose, arise, Sir Gareth, but please win. Everyone's screaming. Isn't it curious in this modern age that the best thing you can do if you achieve something is make him a knight? Make him a knight. Can I just ask, if he's made a sir, Sir Gawain and Sir Gareth and the Green Knight. If he's made a Sir, does he get to sit in the House of Lords? Do all Sirs sit in the House of Lords? Or is it only certain Sirs and dames that get to live? Which players is Jugs? Is he German? Like what you did there, Edward Bevington. So anyway, win or lose, arise Sir Gareth, but please win. Honour is Ed, my son, says the Daily Star. I think that's definitely a photoshopped image of the king knighting potentially Sir Gareth. I don't know. My AI radar is on high alert there. Roar us on, says the Daily Mirror. Ollie's plea to the nation. Wills to join army of fans in Berlin. I think Prince William should post something like Ross Kemp. I think he should do something like Ross Kemp and just shout a lot. Yeah, bald heads that shout a lot. Let's do all that shit. The front of the Daily Mail takes things more seriously, but they do say, your definitive guide to the game that could bring football home after 58 years. And then they sort of in a surprising show of nuance, I think, for the Daily Mail. I can't take these headlines, says Anna-Marie Shellard. I'm sure my 11-year-old son writes them. I think your 11-year-old son might be a bit insulted by that, actually, Anna-Marie. Be careful. But here we go. Looters could run amok if we don't release prisoners. With thousands to be freed, ministers' extraordinary claim. And what they're clearly saying there is, how can you be saying this seemingly oxymoronic, counterintuitive, contradictory thing? Release prisoners, otherwise there's going to be looting and people running amok. Because the reason the looting and everyone would run amok is because everyone will know that there's nowhere they can put us, nowhere that they can't put us anyway. So free up some space. So bring out the ones that are going to did it in the first place. I mean, there's a comedic sort of inconsistency here. Pull everyone out who went in there for looting, and then looting won't happen as much, apart from when the looters are out looting. Yeah. Oxymoron. No, I mean oxymoron. Oxymoronic. An oxymoron. Count is a sort of contradictory. Two inexplicably sort of, two things that don't align or contradict each other. So anyway, that's the Daily Mail trying to say basically Labour's mad. That's what they're trying to say there. They're saying it doesn't make any sense, but it kind of does, but it kind of doesn't, and it kind of doesn't, it kind of doesn't, but it does, and it doesn't. I'm playing with you. Minister says violent criminals will go free. Now, this is the Telegraph yesterday. This is the front of the Times. And I did say yesterday, I have to say, I said, paradoxical even, Bonnie Delay. Now, it's another wonderful word, paradoxical, oxymoron. I love those words. I love a word. They're all made up, Minister says violent criminals will go free. The Justice Secretary has admitted that public safety could be compromised after announcing that violent criminals will be among thousands of prisoners released less than halfway through their sentence. The only other way, I think, to resolve this problem is like in Legoland. I don't know if you watch Lego movies or play Lego games. They need to get little minifigures to rapidly build prisons. Because the only other thing, unless you do this, unless you find some space in the system by taking out the least threatening, I would argue when they do this, I think they should make an extra effort with those they're pulling out soon to go into some kind of rehabilitation so that they don't commit crimes again, so that you create the space to be able to take more people in. You got to solve the causes of crime, guys. I don't want to sound like an old-fashioned old fogey, but you got to cure the causes. You can't cure the symptoms because you're just putting a Band-Aid on. And I think Keir Starmer was incredibly candid and just angry. He said, "I'm so furious that I wasn't told just how serious it all was." I get that. I bet he is. He must be like, how the, what do you, he's basically, Keir Starmer's walked in and said, get out, stand in the hall and get out to whoever was the minister before. But anyway, so of course the right-wing papers, Telegraph, the Mail, etc., season upon this easy to suggest contradiction, and yet there does need to be reform. There does need to be some solution. It is going to involve really uncomfortable and difficult choices. And as soon as he does makes those choices, Keir, there's the papers ready to seize the day. The Eye is talking about UK frustrated by new Biden gaffes. We obviously talked about that last week, well, on Friday. This is him calling Zelensky Putin and calling Vice President Kamala Harris Vice President Trump. Change. I think they need to change Biden. Mia Fitz, this is a good idea. Release the drug addicts into rehab, instant prison space. Put them on a rehabilitation program. Put them on 12-step programs. Don't use these piecemeal bits of nonsense where you put pills in people, which don't solve the problem. You're right. That's a very, Mia Fitz, that's an incredibly simple, proactive, clever, nuanced, targeted approach. Now, I think you'd still have to have a firewall between even that idea, release the drug addicts, because some of those drug addicts will have done extraordinarily violent things. So no, if you've done violence, no, you won't. But like you say, look, so many people. I mean, we have a relative who's just long since passed away, who tragically was in and out and was caught up in drugs, and the whole prison system just kind of supported and prolonged and promoted his addiction and his agony. Bonnie Delaney, this is another really good point. A lot of this is what I love about you guys. A lot of neurodiverse people in prison should not be in that environment. So true. And the right-wing press would quickly say, oh, what? Got ADHD, got neurodiversity, can't cope with a bit of noise. Actually, when you dig into criminality and the mindset and the inability to kind of, if you like, conform or slide into mainstream society, though, as we all know, mainstream society is not everything it's cracked up to be. You're kind of marked, aren't you? And if you can't fit in, you start to make mistakes and all that kind of stuff. So I think this is good. I think it's good. I think it's an ugly, messy and difficult and at times seemingly contradictory dilemma that requires someone to deal with it. And as I've said already, I have to say, in the first week of Starmer's premiership, I'm encouraged. I am encouraged by a lot of the things he's saying. History beckons, obviously, that there at the top is the squad that could all be knighted, you never know. And we're going to talk about Biden in a little bit. Half of cabinet accused of planning hypocrisy. The Daily Telegraph, running out of things to attack the government on, says, some of the ministers in the government have complained about development somewhere near their homes. That's a real scraping of the bottom of the barrel, I think. Don't you? BIPOC people. I'm being silly. What does BIPOC stand for? It would be pretty damn evident once you've described it to me. But BIPOC people are more likely to be imprisoned and end up with criminal records than given mental health support, detained under the Mental Health Act, which is also problematic, than their white. Oh, okay. Black individuals, people of colour. Got you. You're absolutely right. So there is an absolute race skew, isn't there? A racist skew to inmates, convicts, etc., people who are criminalised. Absolutely. Thank you, May Edmondson. I did the working out from the rest of the comment. Thank you. Good point. Really good point. Difficult. But, that's what you want, isn't it? That's what you want from a government, isn't it? Tackling difficult things rather than pretending there isn't a problem. The Sun, England can do it. Pubs open till 1 a.m. for the big game. Now, on that, I don't want to be a party poop, but I want to be a party poop. And I'm going to send you this because one of my daughters sent me this and it's really important and I need to find it. And I'm going to send it to the computer now and then I'm going to upload it and it's immediately going to play. This is important because, so just bear with me one sec. Just get rid of those. You're going to hear a few kind of ding, dunk. You hear that, and then just get rid of those. Hink. I want you to look at this because I kind of mentioned this yesterday on the Friday coffee moaning and didn't, and I meant it when I mentioned it, but we moved on quite quickly. And then this was shown to me or sent to me by one of my older daughters, and I thought this is really important. So check this out, because this is the underbelly of it all. So this is an advert. He's coming home. 1.6 million women experience domestic abuse, need your support too. So yes, enjoy the football, but Look at this. And what was shocking about this is when England lose a World Cup game, incidents of domestic violence increase by 38%. Even more shockingly, it's by 26% when they win. So there's not even any satisfaction or sort of comfort, if there's no satisfaction, but there's not even any perverse kind of comfort in the idea that, a win or not. So when I see, the reason I'm mentioning that is when I see this, pubs open till 1 a.m. for big game, it's not always a good thing. Now, of course, the vast majority of people aren't going to go out and be violent or commit domestic abuse, but it is something to remember, and it's something to bear in mind, and it's something that I think we can all, it's not the football, it's the drinking, absolutely. But this, when we sort of, even on the radio this morning, as I was driving to get the papers about 7 o'clock, someone said, it was announced in the news on Radio 4 as pubs are expecting a huge boost of X million, pounds and pints down. And you're just like, yeah, of course that's great. I mean, I'm not a drinker. And of course, I understand it's nice to have a drink and all that kind of stuff. Everyone drinks here. But it's just, I suppose my point about this is it's an important statistic to remember. So if you know people, or if you have a hunch or an understanding or a sense that someone you're with maybe is in a tricky relationship or what have you, maybe just make yourself a little bit more available. It's not even the alcohol, says Abby Reed. It's the men. Interesting. There you go. But yeah, of course, that's separate to. Let's hope England can do it. But there you go. Just a sidebar. Disgraceful failures of Tories led to jails crisis. This, the Guardian, not surprisingly, leading with Keir Starmer's fury. How can you leave this place in such a state? Okay, so that's all the front pages, guys. So as you can see, sort of England kind of up front, and prisons still making the news. They'll start drinking early as Wimbledon is on the same day. Okay, so one of those headlines, one of those front pages that I sort of pushed past quite quickly, is what have I got here? Biden donors. Here we go. Hang on, I think I've put these in the bloody wrong order. So bear with. Biden donors holding back holding back 70 million as poll immunity grows. This is in the Daily Mail. This is off the back of his NATO fiasco. I mean, to be fair, I don't think it. Although he made two pretty ghastly mistakes, I think they were nowhere near as bad as his interview, if I'm honest. Yeah, so, oh God, I don't think I've bloody got all these bloody stories here. Hang on a minute. What have I done? I was photographing them and diggity. Let me just check something, just one sec. I'm going to do this whilst I'm talking to you. So here we go. Let's just pop that back up. So he is in the process of losing a lot of support. Who thinks, let's ask all any American political pundits, who thinks that, he's going to be removed? Who thinks he'll be removed, or who thinks he will stand down? Anyone? NATO was one of his... thank you. I'm pleased you said that, Reese. I thought of all of his performances outside of the two blindingly obvious blunders. Why do I keep getting that? Sorry, just one sec. Just one second. Oh, this is so annoying. I've got... I see. Sorry, no, I've done them in a different order. Sorry, I'm jumping out my order. So we're going to get back to Biden in a second. But you're right. I think of all of his. No, I'm not. I've made a mistake. I'm so sorry. Just bear with me one sec. Oh, this is so annoying. So I've got that one. Let me just send this through. I've just got to pull up the right headlines. Ugh. This is so boring. Doing this live for you guys. I do apologise. Oh, that still hasn't come through. Sorry. Of all of his gaffes, I think that was by far his least problematic. And he also wrote it out. When Zelensky kind of stood up, I thought he was quite gracious. I thought they all laughed it off. I thought, that kind of all makes sense. You know what I mean? I just thought it was right. Here we go. Let me do this. So, boom, boom. So I'm just gonna get past this story. We're going to be talking about Holly Willoughby's. The Holly Willoughby. You're suffering the Biden effect, Mark. You're absolutely right, Stephanie. What an absolute mess. I do apologise. It's taken ages to come up. Let me just remove that. It's coming. It's coming. The reason he will lose if he does not stand down is not because people will vote Trump, because he will be seen as another. I think, but if he loses all funding, won't he? He'll have to stand down, won't he? I mean, he'll have to stand down. Have to. Here we go. Blunder pressure. I like this headline. Blunder pressure. Quite clever from the Mirror there. This is obviously in a back reference to his absolute fucking clusterfuck of commentary at NATO. And I just quickly trot through this because we took donors to hold back 70 million. So this is where I think it could get really interesting. I think if they, if he doesn't stand down, but if he doesn't stand down and they remove their backing, and he keeps saying, but look at the polls, we could be in a very odd situation. UK frustration after Biden gaffes deflect NATO unity. I mean, Keir Starmer said he wasn't senile. He did say he managed to hold a kind of long conversation together. But again, it's kind of like, okay, well, Biden donors holding back. Yeah. I think we're beginning to see him get pulled down, but could he just insist on staying? That's what I want to know. Could he just insist on staying? Whatever memory, cognitive issues Biden has will only get worse with time and age. And did you notice yesterday when he was asked the question, will you be able to deal with Putin in 2 years? The question was really leading him towards the idea that you'll be too old. And he was like, well, I don't know if the situation will be different. He completely, it's hubris, it's stubbornness, it's ego, it's power, it's age. I mean, they've got to say that someone's got to hide the keys to his car. Pulling a Jordan Belfort I'm not leaving stance is very probable from Biden. Can they rest? Can they take him? Can they prevent him? Can they? Even if without funding, can they? Delusion. Is he deluded? He's definitely infirm. He can't even say, well, he said urological test. And me and my mum know that there's great comedy to be had between neurological and urological. But the two things aren't really the same thing, are they? This is interesting. Spinner's End. Trump has made the same mistakes. The media just hasn't given it attention. Whip someone in who's smart, can string a sentence together, can stand on stage, knows a flagpole from Zelensky, refers to him correctly, and suddenly all the press's attention will shift to Donald Trump. He hasn't had to say a thing. And we did show him whispering, nobody said that. It was like a moment from this film Longlegs that's coming out. It's petrifying. Okay, moving on. Sorry for the headlines problem there. Here we go. 16 years minimum for kidnap, rape, and murder plan. This is Gavin Plum. Judge, offences had life-changing impact on Star. Think about this, life-changing impact without them even happening, which tells you everything you need to know. Life for Holly Plotter. It always strikes me as curious when they say life and then you hear 15 years. Because that's not life, is it? Life is not 15 years. It's a large portion of your life. He was apparently heard muttering to himself 15 years in which to kill myself, or 15 years to kill myself. Murder plot was life-changing for Willoughby as Stalker jailed for life. Here we go. He says, yeah, obsessed fan who planned to kidnap presenter mutters 15 years to kill myself after sentencing. When you see... his defense, the main thing in his defense was this was all suggesting this was all hyperbole. It was all been taken out of context. It was all an idea. But once you start getting things like, his little fucking cocktail, cabinet of fucking nastiness, chloroform, cable ties, all this kind of stuff. It's kind of a little bit more. It's a little bit more than just a kind of, it was something that was never going to be done. Shames me as GB fan. Yeah. So life for Holly Plotter. I have no doubt that this was all considerably more than a fantasy to you, says the judge in his summing up. 15 years doesn't seem very long, though, to me. Willoughby kidnapped Plotter, jailed for life. Curious. But of course, he had previous too. He had previous. The other sort of grisly news story this week, the crossbow suspect stabbed his own chest. Do you remember there was the hunt for him? Former, obviously, boyfriend of one of the tragic girls that he'd killed. He also killed the family. There's the suggestion that he'd held them sort of hostage, or restrained them for a considerable amount of time. Then there was the chase and the hunt, and the search for him was in Enfield graveyard. And by all accounts, he stabbed himself in the chest. He'd been in a relationship with Louise, who was one of the girls. Our thoughts remain with the victims of the family, say the police. The investigation is moving at pace. He has now been arrested, so he's obviously well enough to have had his rights read to him to be formally arrested. But my God, we talked about this yesterday, so that's moving along. Then alongside that, you've got, as I mentioned yesterday, the awfulness of this story of the two bodies that have been, or body parts or remains that have been found in two suitcases alongside the Clifton suspension bridge. They've also found aspects of or elements of the same bodies, or certainly one of the bodies, at a location in Shepherd's Bush in London. So the report here, which again is in the Sun, a passerby literally said to them as they were lugging the luggage out of a car, "What's in that? It looks so heavy. Is there a body in it? Can you believe that? What's in those suitcases?" That's the tourist to Bristol at the bottom right, who said that, a guy called Giles. A suspected killer drove 120 miles to dump suitcases containing bodies of two men. He was said to have planned to throw the two bags off Bristol's Clifton suspension bridge. But before he could apparently dispose of them, he was rumbled by bridge security and chased into the woods by a cyclist. We've got footage. We've seen it. It's like, where the hell is he? Minutes earlier, journalist Giles Malone bumped into two men struggling with the suitcases and said, "Those look heavy. What on earth have you got in there? A body? Is it a body?" We say that, don't we, in a light-hearted fashion, but how grisly is that? Detectives arrest man 36 over corpses. This is a man who was arrested in London yesterday in connection with the discovery. He's not the same man who's the subject of the appeal, nor the same man that's in the photograph that you've just seen. He was arrested in Greenwich. He's been taken into custody. The arrest came after a hunt for a suspect believed to have left the suitcases in Bristol. And obviously they're still in the process of identifying one of the remains too. Grisly story. Yeah, Edward Bevington, I heard that too. One was, I didn't want to share that detail, but one was dripping blood. Yeah, another arrest was made, or another house. I think it was a house in Shepherd's Bush. I don't know the exact location, Reese, of that. Moving on. So what's this one here? Sensation as Alec Baldwin case is dismissed. This is quite something. This is the Rust case where tragically the cinematographer was shot. Again, I'm trying to find my bloody story. What have I done with it? Anyway, we know this story. This is the story that he was being done for manslaughter, and they dropped the case. I incorrectly said it was a mistrial, but apparently it was. Let me get the correct wording on this. That was important. There was the suggestion that the evidence wasn't right, or that there was a kind of holding back of evidence regarding the bullets, etc. The case has been dismissed with prejudice, pointing to the holding back of vital evidence by the prosecution, which means also withholding of evidence. Yeah, that the armourer on the film, who was also kind of charged and is currently behind bars, that she too is going to be able to appeal and potentially pull out. But the scenes in court were apparently quite something, as he burst into tears. But then, of course, I've read somewhere else that the widower of Helena Hutchins, the cinematographer, is going to try and press charges again. So, I mean, I don't think this story is going to go away. I really don't think this story is going to go away. Will Labour unleash wind farmageddon? Asks the Daily Mail. Who has a problem with wind turbines? I don't. I literally don't have a problem with them. I think they look rather beautiful. Is it farmageddon? Is it a problem for farmers? Do they not get subsidised? Do they not earn from them? I see this and I think this has got to be a good thing, no? This is the Daily Mail wanted to kind of get us all hot under the collar. Not me, I like them. I mean, I suppose it's very different if you live beneath them. I think they make more noise than perhaps one would know, and unless you were underneath it all the time. I'm saying too, people say they hate them too. We have quite a lot near where I live. I literally, it's weird, isn't it? Because it's almost like in their design, there's something quite magnificent and beautiful in what they are and what they represent, isn't there? It's like, when you know they're doing something that's better for the planet, they almost automatically look kind of good, I think. Yeah, so it's the Daily Mail trying to kind of cause a fuss. But then in the middle pages of the Daily Mail, now I want to ask you guys, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? One of their journalists, Leo McKinstry, says this: as an unwavering opponent of Labour, I was dreading Britain's socialist new dawn, but even I am reassured by Starmer's promising first week after years of chaos and division. The reason I ask, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Do you want the Daily Mail backing you up? I don't know. Have you stepped too far in a certain direction? But I don't feel, having looked at all of the headlines that have come through, having looked at some of the policies that they're engaging with and grappling with already, I don't think we're dealing with something. I don't think they have lurched to the right yet. I think they're just trying to steady the ship, if I'm honest. So I think, in a weird way, I would have once upon a time said, oh, well, there you go, you see. I mean, if you've got the Daily Mail supporting you, it's a problem. YT user, Daily Mail may want to be currying favour. Well, there you go. I think not that I had the dread. I wasn't dreading Britain's socialist new dawn. I was dreading their potentially sluggish and ambivalent attitude continually to Gaza and the Middle East. But no, I agree. I don't think it is a. But alongside that, Corbyn predicts challenge to stale politics. Who agrees? Who thinks at the next election there'll be more independence? This is his suggestion that his victory points to what could be the dawning of a new age in politics, i.e. independent candidates, people who aren't aligned to parties, people who represent sort of a range of different things, but who are voted for not based on manifesto or party kind of ideology or approach, but based on values and what they can do for their electorate and what have you. He said it's people power was behind. Let's pop up Corbyn's words. People power was behind the victory that marked the start of a new politics, he writes in The Guardian. Here in Islington, we're planting the seeds for a new way of doing politics. Or is this just Islington? That's what I want to ask. Is this true? Or is this just Islington? I mean, for many years, he used to call them Islington wankers. Well, there's a bit of wankiness in Islington. There's a lot of wankiness in Shoreditch. There's wankiness everywhere. We're wankers. We're media wankers. We're wankers. It's all right to be a wanker. More split voting next time. I want to believe him. I want to agree with him. I want to believe that what he's saying is true. Starmer states he rules out smartphone under 16s ban. When asked on Good Morning Britain if he agreed the idea that as Esther Gee, is it Esther Gee, the mother of murdered teenager Brianna, she called for phones to be banned and not to be used for social media. When asked, he agreed. He said, our children have mobile phones and I'm not in favour of simply banning them, but I do think there are serious questions that need to be answered about social media usage. Okay. He's also, don't forget, Starmer may well be letting 16-year-olds vote. There was a bit of fuss and nonsense yesterday. Harry accepts War Hero Gong award amid backlash. He's won a sort of veterans kind of award, but he kind of was pulled down and heavily criticised by Mary Tillman, who is the mother of US Army Ranger Pat Tillman. She believes he's not the right person to have received this award. She believes there were recipients who were much more fitting than the royal. He obviously won the award for his Invictus Games as much as any of his service. But I think what's made his winning this award slightly problematic was his award for kind of, the work that he's done for veterans, and mainly with his kind of Invictus. Is it Invictus? Is that what it is? The Invictus Games for veterans. But yeah, he took to the stage at the ESPY Sports Awards in Los Angeles to collect the Pat Tillman Award on Thursday night. And so, Mary Tillman is the mother of the Pat Tillman that is the award that he won. So yeah, it's kind of basically for the work that he's done with his Invictus Games. Oh, that's a different headline altogether. I don't have a problem with him winning, personally. It's not like winning. It's not like, do you know what I mean? I think it's just an acknowledgement of some form. I just think the hate is just, I think they've backed off a bit. I think everyone needs to calm down a bit now. Is everyone still hot under the collar about Harry and Meghan? Is everyone still furious and feel that she's stolen him and destroyed things and all that kind of stuff? Pink cocaine like bomb going off on White Isle. Is anyone watching the ITV series? Was it ITV? Is it Ibiza Narcos or something like that? I keep wanting to watch it, but I can't get past Love Island with all the ladies in the house. This is God, pink cocaine like bomb going off on White Isle. It's all day long. They just don't leave you alone. Really intimidating. You think they're going to pull out a knife on you, and they pull out a gas canister instead. This is just the drugs that are being pushed in Ibiza are massive. And I think I can't help but wonder whether part of this story and part of this attention also speaks to the potential narcos aspect of the whole kind of Lanzarote or Tenerife, the Jay Slater story and all that kind of stuff. He has done a lot for veterans. Who said that? Spinner's End. Name someone who's done more in your country for veterans. Spinner's End 77. I agree. Let me just pop that up. I agree. I think he has done a lot. I think the games. I don't have a problem with it. It's weird. But it was the mother of the guy whose award is in his name who kind of suggested, queried whether he should have won it. These are images here. High life trapeze artist balances on huge hot dog hoisted into the air. Brazen tout armed with canister and balloon. So, I mean, to be honest with you, yes, this is like this in Ibiza, but it's also like this in Brixton. It's like this in Camden. It's like this. It's like this in so many places. No, at any gig, people just come up to you and just go. There's that funny story. What was that show years ago where they come up to you and they sort of make a noise and go. And you're like, what is that? What's that? In terms of trying to sell stuff to you. Venice Beach in LA, they're all trying to sell all sorts of stuff to you. But yeah, this is the story that basically it has become a drug pusher's nightmare or Shangri-La, potentially. Jeremy Hunt. Why do you think Jeremy Hunt's in the news? I quite like this story. This is a nice story. This isn't a moan and groan. I know he's a Tory. And I know he's Jeremy Hunt, who I like at all when he was Culture Secretary. But nice story. I like this story. Number 11, Hunt's children left sweet notes for the Starmers. I think this is really sweet. I wish there was more of this. Jeremy Hunt's 3 children left personal notes for Keir Starmer's teenage son and daughter. The Prime Minister Starmer said his children were extremely pleased to receive the letters from the Hunt's children who'd lived in the flat above number 11 since their father was Chancellor. The Starmer family have not yet fully moved into the flat. And basically, Starmer's children have received notes from Hunt's children describing the best ways to live in the house and all that kind of stuff. I like that. I think that's sweet. Rather than a note saying run out of money, I think the idea that the youngsters have left, I like that. I think that's really, obviously, Look, I like that. Who's that? Stephanie. Obviously, the mum's influence. But also in other news, I quite like this. When we were doing by the way, when we did when Nadia and those wonderful other 30 women and many other in the support team, took their tops off in Parliament Square in Hertu. As I passed back up Whitehall, I saw the removal vans arriving with all of the Starmer's gear. They were unpacking it. I was trying to get a shot, but we were being moved on quite quickly. And interestingly, when Starmer went to NATO, his kids, the Starmer kids, haven't moved into 10 Downing Street yet because he didn't want them on their own at 10 Downing Street whilst he was away on the NATO. I like that. I think that speaks to just normal human stuff, which we've massively lacked in all political chit-chat and nonsense, I think. So I like this. I like a story like this. This shows a sort of humanistic side to politicians. Did you hear about this? Jeremy Hunt's kids left a note for Starmer saying how to live in number 11 and number 10. I think that's really sweet.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, Nadia wasn't convinced, I could tell. It's like Hogwarts. I was just blown away. As it prepares to launch state sixth forms, Eton gave pupils from poorer areas a sneak peek. There you go. I don't know. I just don't know how I feel about private education. I just think the whole thing should just fund public schools, state schools. Myself, Titanic expedition aims to capture 3D. I just want to ask you guys, why is there such an obsession with something that went down relatively in history recently? We know the design of it. We know a certain amount of stuff. There was the awful, ocean. What was the name of the Ocean Gate? Was it the Ocean Gate tragedy that happened? That was just awful. Anyway, a new expedition aims to capture 3D map of wreck. I mean, you can get a Lego, can't you, of the Titanic? Do we have to go all the way down again and map it out again? Do we not know? I don't know. Shout. Sorry, but you're going to have to shout, says Lulu, because she needs hearing aids. Pop icon Lulu has revealed she has hearing loss. It's all that bloody shouting. A lot of people in the music industry actually do have blown ears, especially ravers as well. I used to do it. I mean, I'll probably have problems when I'm older. I used to stand next to the speaker because you thought it was because the feeling on your head was good. What an absolute moron. But yeah, this is Lulu. She says that she's got her hearing checked after her Glastonbury gig last month. She admitted to struggling with ringing in her ears for years and has now learned that she needs hearing aids. Outlook is bright. How we all fell for weather apps. Well, we did, but none of them are accurate. What weather app do you use, guys, that's reliable? I use Apple's weather app. None of it's right. But is it the problem with the app or is it the problem with the world? Hey? I don't see the obsession with the Titanic, to be honest, says Mitube. That ship is tiny compared to modern cruise liners. What I also don't understand is we've got designs of it, we've seen it, we've got models of it, it's been mapped. I don't understand why we need to know more. Well, stop shouting then. I didn't appreciate that at 8 a.m. other morning. Oh, shout. I get you. Whichever says sun, says Stephanie. Yeah, I worry that weather apps, do they just tell us what we want to hear? I don't believe any of them now. Fancy a quickie? Jog on. Running can help ward off wobbly willies, say boffins. Want to do a marathon? Only if you promise to come second for a change. Oh, see what the sun's done there. So apparently jogging can help men remain ready for romping in the bedroom. Taking 20 minutes of exercise every day can reduce the risk of going slack in the sack. No likey, no likey. Go slack in the sack. It's always on page 7 or 9. No, that's page 11 actually. A little story about sex. Nookie. That's what they call it, nookie. Final couple of stories. Psycho seagulls should be illegal. Street turned into war zone by birds. And this is quite serious. I mean, we all know psycho seagulls. We've all been nose bombed, dive bombed. They've turned a quiet street into a war zone. Fed up residents say they are prisoners in their own homes in Worcester. This is Portland Street in Worcester. Apparently they're shitting all over their cars. It's just horrendous. They attack people. Oh, seagulls, man. Angry birds. Palace grants golden title to Guernsey's rare goats. I love the Telegraph only for the fact that some of its stories are so remarkably odd and arcane and like knighting a goat in a sort of Hebridean jumper. And you're like, who the fuck is the Telegraph for? Anyway, the king is going to grant a special royal title to a rare breed of goat when he visits Guernsey next week. Sir Goat. Here's some nice little montage of some of the images of football. We'll get excited about. It's all about focus, lads. It's all about focus. Stonehenge Tunnel may cost 200. I thought that was quite shocking. Was it HO2? No, what was the name of the H2O? That's water. What was the HO2? What was the fucking great big thing that's cost billions? What's it called again? Is it the HO2? Is it? I think so. Stonehenge Tunnel is going to cost £250,000 for each metre. I mean, I've driven the A303 many times, and I think, you know, it's a fucking head fuck driving down that road, but 250,000 a metre. There's Hugh Jackman being sort of sorted out by Ryan Reynolds and Sean Levy, the director of the new Deadpool film. Can't wait for that. It looks good. It's a long tunnel. Yeah, well, it's going to cost a lot. There's Sharon Stone at the age of 66, recreating her infamous sit in a chair shot. She doesn't uncross and then recross her legs, though. So just saying. Birds, fish and grips. Look at that. An osprey. My mum saw one of those at the end of our garden the other day. It was quite shocking. It picked her up and then dropped her in the tree. It was a frightening moment, but you'll see it in Greenfigured Hell. There seems to be bears, just seem to be everywhere, every weekend. Just love bears. Look at them. Oh, just love them. Just lovely. And finally, there's old Margot Robbie looking, well, all the chatter is she pregnant? Is she having a baby Barbie? Is she having baby Barbie? Baby Barbie. So there you go. Anyway, guys, as I say, no Curly Cooks today. Curly Cooks tomorrow. No Name Sunday show is a Saturday show later today. We will pop up the link in the members area in the community tab. Have a lovely day, guys. Poor little Nanny Di. I know the osprey picked her up